Many parts of the northern US have hazardous winter driving conditions for several months a year. I want to spend some time to talk about this and also understand that really this is a continuation from the same kind of mindset we use when it's raining. This is a classic example of somebody driving too fast for the conditions. Now we see a truck starting to pull out, you would think, fairly close to this vehicle that's in front of us. But this vehicle in front of us is going slow enough to have no problem stopping to let the truck pull out. Despite being over 100 yards behind this scenario, they were going too fast to be able to stop. And when they did try to stop, they lost control and crashed into objects at the side of the road. It comes back to what we were talking about in the rain. You have to prepare. You have to leave more room. You have to drive slower because in the ice and snow, it takes way longer to stop. We need to understand, we need to mentally prepare, and we need to drive accordingly. In this scenario, the camera vehicle is coming up to a right-hand turn. Again, they were going too fast, they miscalculated. The driver completely miscalculated how sharp the turn was relative to their speed. They've lost control of the vehicle, it's sliding, it's now going into oncoming traffic. And we see at the end here, this vehicle going off to the right is actually trying to avoid the vehicle that is now in their lane, and they actually did a pretty good job of it, but unfortunately, they both came together. It ended up being a fender bender, but again, completely avoidable if the driver of the camera car had just slowed down and just not tried to take the corner so fast. This winter driving scenario, it clearly shows why drivers need to take a little more time and be much more aware. The vehicle in the left lane wants to make a lane change. In less than a second after they put the turn signal on, a faster vehicle passes them on the right. The driver in the car continues to move to the right. The driver in the pickup truck has his brakes on and is now moving also slightly to the right. The driver of the car making the lane change swerves back to the left lane, losing control of their vehicle because of the icy and snowy conditions, slides all the way across 3 lanes and collides with a truck. We can discuss how much fault the car driver or the pickup driver had in this scenario, but it doesn't really matter. The end result is a crash, a needless, avoidable crash. This perfectly highlights how important it is to use your mirrors correctly and make sure you know exactly what's coming up behind you before you make a lane change, especially in winter driving conditions. It really doesn't matter whether you've got 4-wheel drive or not. Gravity will win out. Please don't assume just because you have 4-wheel drive, you're going to be able to get up all these icy and snowy slopes with no problem. It's just not the case. The final thing I'll talk about with weather conditions, mixed weather sometimes, is ice. In this scenario, the road kind of looks wet, maybe a little bit sludgy, but look what happens. This vehicle is trying to stop for a junction and it's obvious that they are just completely out of control on sheet ice. In the world of winter driving conditions, clear ice or sheet ice is probably the most difficult to drive on and certainly the most dangerous. If you know it's very icy out, you've got lousy driving conditions, you may just be better off staying inside, staying at home, and don't drive. As you can see in this little video here, this driver's trying to stop for a junction, trying to stop on sheet ice, obviously going too fast, probably didn't realize it was sheet ice, and was totally out of control trying to stop. If you live in hilly conditions, you definitely need to think twice before you leave the house. Gravity is going to win. Remember, if there's ice on the roads, the emergency service people are trying to make the roads better. Unless you absolutely need to leave the house, then stay at home. Let them do their jobs and wait until the roads improve.